All right, thanks everyone for joining the Future Proof podcast. My name is Alex Mysinek. I'm joined here with Victor. Victor is the owner of Janco Associates, Inc. So thank you, Victor, for joining me.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're a small organization, but we have consulted internationally. One of our claims to fame was that I personally directed the process to create the disaster recovery plan that Merrill Lynch used on 9/11, where they only lost 52 seconds of transactions. And I directed a management team of about 25 consultants to help develop that plan. In the course of doing that, I focused my activities on improving the productivity of the IT function and helping CIOs and CTOs be successful. Currently, we do a monthly report on the IT job market, which talks about where the IT job market is, what positions are in demand, and who is hiring, and what's the likelihood for compensation increases for professionals. On that topic, I've been quoted in the Wall Street Journal last year over 25 times, where they used our data to help relate what's going on in the marketplace. We focus a lot on new technologies and how things are being improved. For example, the IT market for the last 3 years has been shrinking, which is not a good sign, because what's happening is a lot of the structural jobs within the IT market are going away. People have now automated out the help desk, customer service. They're starting to automate out some of the preliminary coding functions so that there are fewer and fewer entry jobs. At the same time, the median compensation for IT professionals is now over $104,000. And one of the reasons is that the people that are in demand are people that understand large language models, artificial intelligence, blockchain, and e-commerce. And that's where all the activity is. Gone are the days where people could be a specialist in payroll or distribution or manufacturing applications, because most of those have been converted to software, and it's fairly easy to implement those systems versus years ago when it wasn't. It was very difficult and people had to customize them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you touched on a lot there. I think one of the most interesting ones are the parts of your business is that the disaster recovery part of it, and kind of, you know, educating CTOs and CIOs on that. With that 9/11 response and everything like that, I mean, that's obviously super interesting. Where are you seeing, like, right now, like, where are you helping with discovery, like, things now? Is there anything that's going on right now that you're kind of aware of that you've been thinking about?
A lot of things are basically how people can improve the productivity within the IT organization. IT for the longest time was an ivory tower. Now when CFOs are starting to view it as a cost center, in that the average compensation is very high. So it's difficult to add new FTEs within organizations. Also, failure is not an option. For example, if you happen to be a chief security officer in your company and through no fault of your own, the company's security is breached, the odds are you're going to be out of a job within 3 to 6 months. So it's a high risk position, it's a high pressure position, and at the same time, the people that are in the roles have to be on top of their game. They have to know what's going on in the marketplace and what they have to do in order to make their company successful. Return on investment is key.
So it seems like kind of that's like where you come in. So maybe give us like a really high level viewpoint of, like, if you're helping to consult with, an IT company or a CIO, like, what are you really doing to help them effectively do their job, and also stay ahead of any kind of, breach or security concern?
Well, one of the things that we view our role is to make the CIO or CTO successful. Our typical client, who is the best client that we can service, is someone who's new in an organization. They don't know what the infrastructure is that's in place, or they have an infrastructure that's out of date, and they want to be able to see that they can get things done quickly and effectively in the organization so they can make their mark. The tenure for a CIO or CTO is now about 4.5 years. And once you get into that job, if you're successful and it's a large organization, you can be on with that organization for, a decade, or if not decades. There's a very, very low tolerance for CIOs and CTOs who don't produce results almost immediately. And one of the things that we help CIOs do is they understand who their team is and how they can bring them into an organization so they can help them be successful. And at the same time, understand what the culture is of the organization they are at.
mean, how many people are you help like, how many clients have you helped before? How many are you currently serving right now?
We typically service about 3 to 5 executives at any one time because of the amount of time it takes. And when we're doing that, we're doing it on a individual basis, looking at what is best for them and what is best for their organization. Sometimes we'll get involved with an organization when a search firm is looking for a CIO or a CTO, and we get involved in the interview process and initially with them, and then we help transition that executive into the organization.
Now, looking at your website and everything that you have on there, there's just a lot of information, tools, policy, job descriptions, you name it. You're going in there, you're assisting the CIO and the IT managers, but then also they can kind of use all the systems and everything that you've created for them to kind of basically help them look like they have a ton of information in a bunch of systems.
Yes, a lot of some of our more interesting clients are, we'll get a phone call, say, "Hey, listen, I've just been audited by an external organization, and I need to have some." So we have like a security manual template that someone can implement. And typically, when someone is audited, there's fault one is you don't have anything in place. Fault two is you have something in place, but it's not the right thing. And fault three is you have something in place and you're not following. So, and the worst one is not to have something. So what someone new in an organization can do is say, okay, let's get, for example, I need to have pay grades for an organization. Well, we have a template for establishing pay grades with an organization that's fairly easy to implement. Or you need to have infrastructure, policies, and procedures. How do you deal with people that are work from home? And how do you deal with people that are being from an organization? What's the process that you follow? So we have processes that are predefined that we can help implement fairly quickly in an organization.
Interesting. All right. Kind of going off of that topic, where are you seeing most IT departments or CIOs struggling with right now? Is it security, compliance, staffing, any of the three?
Security is one that is a concern of most organizations today. Thing is to the extent that you have we are past the baby boomers who are retiring, and as those people retired, a whole host of legacy systems had to be replaced, and now people are using different tools, uh, so that when you're looking at an organization, you say, how can I make this process more effective? How can I do it with fewer full-time equivalent employees? We're not seeing a lot of individual development of major new systems. What we're seeing is pilot programs for artificial intelligence, pilot programs for blockchain, pilot programs for brand management. And a lot of the technology is moving out of the IT department, going more into the marketing departments.
Yeah, I mean that's a really big focus of marketing and obviously getting clients into into their system and their ecosystem. But at the end of the day, too, is also security is also a big focus in compliance. How have you seen like the rise of AI, remote work, and automation change what leaderships in IT need to focus on?
Well, the leadership in IT was impacted very significantly during COVID. That's when the work from home process came into play. And then you have the current generation of workers who are not necessarily tied to a career in a company, but they're tied to what their experiences are. So as you're hiring new people, you have to be aware of how much do I want to invest in this particular employee and how long are they going to stay with me? The average tenure of IT employees for new employees is very, very low. It's not unusual for someone to come in the industry, just get a taste of something, then go out and get another job where they say they're an expert in something.
When did you see that? When did you see that shift in employees' tenure going from like more longer term employees to now that really short term?
I saw the shift probably about 2015. Uh, I had one executive I was talking to, and they were talking about the fact that you had a lot of employees who were coming on board that were being managed by helicopter parents. I had even had one client who came in and said they had an employee they gave a bad review to, and the parents' parents showed up at the office. You know, it was not a good career move for that person because they were gone. But that those types of issues are really being magnified today. I've heard of cases where when you have interview day, if you look at the interviewees, their parents drop them off at the company and they're waiting in the coffee shop. In essence, they're taking them to the interview, making sure they get there. And then they debrief them on how they did.
Yeah, I mean, that's
It's
you
it's
know,
a
it,
it's a strange employment world out there today.
yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there's obviously a lot that we can go into about that and the reason why, and I think really kind of, boils down to just kind of the switching, the generations and all that stuff. So, what has been your biggest challenge for Genco of your scaling? I know that we talked a little bit about social media and like content and everything like that. Is it, are your biggest challenges like visibility and staying ahead of new regulations, which I think you have a really good handle on? Or is that more kind of gaining new clients and, what's that aspect look like?
Right now, our biggest challenge is that back in it started before COVID, but small to mid-sized companies, a lot of them have disappeared. Over 50% of all IT jobs are in small to mid-sized organizations. Those companies are gone. And you've got the mega corporations that are large that basically go off and acquire everything, in the sun, but they don't really provide a place for a career path for people to go through. For example, if you happen to be in Nashville, Tennessee, how are you going to learn about the new technologies unless you start working for some company that's working with the new technologies? And it's very difficult for small to mid-sized companies to get involved in that arena since they don't have the capital or the experience to do it. So the hard thing in my marketplace was basically mid-sized corporations, companies that had 1,000 to 5,000 employees. A lot of those companies have gone away.
Got it. Okay. So now what are you kind of doing to have you refocused who you're trying to serve or
I've tended to focus recently on the IT job market employment numbers. I'm fairly well tied in to, I have a set of, I'd say about 170 different reporters that I publish my information to on a monthly basis. That's how I get the quotes in the Wall Street Journal, Computer World, and different publications.
interesting?
And they'll use
Yeah.
me as a source for other stories, which will then get people to call us directly.
Yeah. Well, out of, you said you were quoted like 24 times last year. Kind of what was one of your favorite, what was like your favorite article, favorite topic or whatever that they kind of took from you and posted?
It's not my favorite topic, but it's the one that provides the most interest is that the IT job market is shrinking. For 3 years in a row, the IT job there was a huge firing spree or layoff spree during COVID. Then there was a huge hiring spree. After that hiring spree, people overhired and now they're going out and they're continuing to cut staff.
Yeah.
If you go to the typical IT organization, they've outsourced their help desk, they've outsourced their documentation, they've outsourced a lot of their processing. And so that means that they've eliminated a lot of people. Telecommunications is a classic example. Telecommunications used to be a large part of the marketplace. However, what's happened is everything in telecommunications has been automated. First of all, they automated the reporting process. Then they automated the process of how they communicate that through an organization, where they would do email messages to people, say, hey, we've got this telecommunication problem. And so where you used to have a staff of 50 people and dealing with communications, now you only have a staff of 3 to 4, and you have a whole series of automated systems. The same thing is happening in security, and the same thing is happening in compliance.
Yeah. It makes sense. I mean, because right, that paradigm shift or that time frame that you said, every Joe Schmo that didn't really have an IT or cybersecurity background or not even like an IT background probably didn't really know too much about AI until 2023 or maybe around then. But
Hmm.
before that, it was probably coming into people that were paying attention, and that kind of lines up to exactly when there's a lot of things that can be replaced, and once they can be replaced for cheaper, it's just hard to kind of keep staff on when you can optimize it and get it done in a split of a second from a, an agent or a bot or an AI, program.
A lot of CFOs actually look at IT as a source of future earnings when they have to cut staff. If you want to cut $1 million out of an IT budget, you eliminate 10 people.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. That's definitely, it's, you know, it will definitely shift. I mean, obviously the job cutting will level out, and I think, certain things will start getting better. But for you and for kind of what you're doing, I think that it's really important, and super interesting how you do the articles and all the information you have on your website, and all the products and support that you have for the CIOs and IT managers that can leverage this. Let's go on a couple questions about that, then we'll kind of go into how people get in touch with you and reach out to Janco. So what do you think what's the biggest myth about IT management or compliance that you wish would go away?
Individual compliance requirements of different states and different governments. There should be a standard set up, which is basically a standard that's industry wide. What happens is you have the California standard for this is what you have to do with privacy information. You have the federal standard, you have the EU standard, you have the England standard. And so if you're an organization and you're trying to do anything, you have to go through that entire morass. It would be nice if there was one standard that people could comply to. There's an ISO standard, there are industry standards, and then there are mandated government standards.
Well, yeah, because I mean, especially if you have a company if different states have different policies and you have multiple companies in multiple states, it gets confusing on probably which, guidelines you have to follow in what state. I bet you it's a absolute nightmare. So right now with all the products, all the articles, all of the utilization and all of the documents and things that you have on your website to help people, if a CIO is listening right now and could focus on just one area to strengthen their department, what would you tell them to do?
We actually have a kit called the CIO Management Toolkit,
There you go.
which includes job descriptions, policies and procedures, infrastructure rules, compliance mandates, a whole series of electronic forms they can just take out of the box and use on day one. And if you go off of the IT Management Toolkit, you can see that. And with the way we have our products offered, we have them delivered electronically, and they're all done with a bill of material type process. So that if our salary survey is within a particular toolkit, and we come out with a new one, when we publish a new one, when you download it, you get the latest version.
Interesting. All right. So yeah, why don't you describe a little bit about that, and then we can kind of talk about where they can find you. So if someone wants to, utilize everything that you have at Janco Associates, and kind of what's the easiest way for them to start utilizing? How can they get in touch with you? And kind of, what's your website? Call all that good stuff out.
Our website is e-janco.com. The easiest way to get a hold of me is to just send an email to me, victor@e-janco.com. And our website has a built-in search engine where you can go into this on the top menu and specify the topic you want and search, and that will take you to pages within our website. And our website has over 1,500 pages, and it ties to different products and services that we offer. So you can be very, very granular in the information that you get. You can acquire our products directly by ordering them online, and when you order them online, you download them immediately. Everything we do is completely secure. We don't resell any of our information about any of our clients to anyone. So all that information is private and secure.
Yeah, I just took a look at the list of products. I mean, if I was a CIO, a CFO, or a CISO, or anyone that needed to utilize this, I mean, you've got everything under the sun to help even start a business or, redo all of the compliance and audits and infrastructure. Everything's super easy to follow. So yeah, I really appreciate it. I think if anyone's out there listening to this and needs kind of help in that area, definitely reach out to Janco Associates or Victor. I think he can definitely help you in that area. So, I want to thank you, Victor, for joining me today. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Okay. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
Same to you.